Nikki, is that
All
you?
right. Yeah, did that work that time?
It does. It does. We can hear you. Amazing.
Fantastic.
Um,
I was pushing six like a banshee, but it wasn't taking so well.
no worries. And I think we should have Carolyn on the phone as well. And then maybe waiting on Florence to join us in here. But I think we can kick off. I will kick off on my side, and then Nikki, I'll ask you to jump in just a couple minutes.
Thank you very much.
Thank
hey,
you.
Nikki, this is Carolyn. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Perfect.
Great, thank you.
Yep. Well, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining, and apologies for the few minute delay there. My name is Asher Kraut from the Starburst team, helping the Science Mission Directorate put on this Entrepreneurs Challenge again for 2021. For those of you that are back with us again here for the second year of the challenge, welcome back. For the new faces in the audience, great to have you aboard. Super excited about what we're going to do this year with the new focus areas and a little bit of a retailored approach here. I'm going to save a lot of the highlight points to the NASA team that is here with you today. We've got a couple of folks from SMD to talk about what they're looking for in the challenge, what they're hoping to see in the submissions, how to submit, what the deadlines are, and kind of all that good stuff there. So I think without further ado, just April, I'll ask the next slide here. I want to talk a little bit about the challenge as a whole, where we are today in relation to some upcoming deadlines and the release schedule. So we launched this challenge again here on July 12th, just a couple weeks ago. Today is our Ask Me Anything session. And our white papers will be due in just about 10 days on August 6th. That'll be at midnight Pacific. And then we will take 1 month to kind of regroup and evaluate with the NASA team. And then from there, we will notify winners. We will ask that the round 1 selectees submit a more detailed white paper as part of that round 2 submission. You'll have 3 weeks to complete those, and we'll give templates and guidance on how to do so best prior to that. And then we will culminate in the pitch day on November 3rd and 4th. So super excited to get to the end, but of course a lot of runway here still left to play. So I think without further ado, Nikki, I'll invite you to maybe give us a kind of just glimpse into what's on your mind, what's your thoughts, why were you guys so eager to renew the challenge again for 2021? What are you looking for? And maybe we'll dive into some questions we've received beforehand as well, and then we can take open Q&A as it comes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Asher. And just to check again, am I coming through on audio?
Perfectly clear. Perfectly clear.
Great. Excellent. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today, and a big thanks to Starburst, our partner in executing this activity, and for the organization today. And I think there's probably some great irony in some of us NASA folks not being able to, connect to the online meeting, but I'll leave that for another day. I apologize for the delay and that we weren't able to connect, but I'm not sure what's going on. But yeah, as Asher said, so my name is Nikki Rail. I'm the acting chief technologist for the Science Mission Directorate within NASA. And Mike Seablum and Florence Tan last year in their role, in chief technology role, kicked off this fantastic activity, this Entrepreneurs Challenge. And we are seeking to do it again. It was really successful. We want to build off some of the lessons learned from the pilot program and implement it again, mostly because we're interested in what you all can bring to the table, bringing innovation, new ideas, and apply those to the context of potentially addressing some of our agency's science goals. We, often at NASA think in, decades out and have our focus and our eye on the prize on these long timescale missions. And sometimes we can have some blind spots for what's going on innovation-wise with what's happening in industry, commercial sector, and all the entrepreneurial activities. And so, building off of this activity last year, we're really hoping to see if there's some kind of breakthrough and transformative technologies that we aren't aware of, bringing your ideas to make science missions more affordable, more capable, more transformative when it comes to what they are achieving, and also growing the number of, growing the number of our cadre of folks that are able to contribute to NASA science from the startup and small business sector. It's a demographic that we often have trouble reaching when we work on, timescales for our research solicitations of 1 year to 2 years for award, and even greater than that for contracts. That doesn't align with, benchtop innovation and what's going on in industry. And so it's really my hope that we can gain access to your ideas and innovations through this activity in ways that aren't possible through our traditional mechanisms, so we can really advance our science goals. It's kind of a perfect storm right now with these great changes in the commercial space economy and how we are commercializing low Earth orbit and what's going on. We've never seen, the amount of commercial robust investment and, advances in technologies that we've seen in the last few years. So I'm really excited this year to kind of bring this program out again and to really learn from you all on what your ideas and concepts are. And just briefly, a little bit about, science at NASA and how we kind of operate technology. We have about 23 technology programs right now in the Science Mission Directorate technology portfolio, funding about $250 to $300 million in technology activities. And we break our science kind of broadly into 5 areas within our organization, spanning astrophysics, biological and physical science, earth science, heliophysics, and planetary science. And so we kind of got all of these science divisions together that represent all these really disparate topics, but there's some kind of cross-cutting and cutting-edge needs that span all of these division topics. And, you will see and you'll hear from later today some representatives from these divisions to speak in specifics about our topics, but just globally, the 3 topics we're hoping to address are around small sat science technologies, metamaterials-based sensors, and biomarker detection. And I'm very appreciative of my NASA colleagues that are on the line today, that are going to speak a little bit more about what those topics mean and the challenges we face. We're going to kind of do like maybe a 2-minute lightning talk to just share some information about those topics and the challenges as we consider them. And as Asher already mentioned, we've got our competition, this prize competition, broken into 2 rounds, and we hope to kind of build off each round from one to the other. And I'll just mention that in the first round, we're hoping for a 5-page white paper. There's very specific evaluation criteria on the website that'll help guide the development of that paper, but think of it as kind of, an elevator pitch of what is your concept or idea, and the technical credibility that you bring to the table, and how you'd kind of go about solving one of our science needs. We plan to award up to 20 submissions for the first round at a $10K prize per award. And as Asher mentioned, that closes on August 6th. We're going to spend about a month going through an evaluation of those first submitted white papers, and we'll be posting on our website and reaching out to winners following that. And then those that have the highest ranking scores from round 1 will be invited to participate in round 2, which is also entails a white paper of a more developed or fleshed out concept, and a live pitch event. The white paper will be due on September 27th, and the live pitch event will be held November 3rd through 4th. And we plan to make about 10 awards, up to 10 awards of our second round at $80,000 per award for that second round participation. And it's my hope that as we start these activities, that we'll be able to on-ramp you all into our technology programs and NASA solicitations in the future. That's the big prize at the end of this, right? Is not only is, we want to incentivize you to kind of participate and think of how you can bring the amazing skills and technologies you have to the table, but then also hopefully further develop those in the coming years and to integrate with missions and science proposals. I really appreciate all taking the time to come in today. And I would like to, kind of pivot now. Asher, if it's all right with you, going to our, technology deep dive. And before I do that, invite my colleagues on the line, Mike, Carolyn, and Florence. If there's anything I didn't touch on from this beginning part, please jump in.
Sounds good, Nikki.
Great. Thanks, Carolyn. And Asher, with Florence, were you able to connect and with audio?
I do believe we have Florence in here. Florence, are you able to unmute yourself and just test audio quickly? think she's trying now, but we definitely have Mike in here. Oh, perfect. We hear you. Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I'm unmuted now. Thank you.
All right. So Asher, if it's all right with you, I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Florence Tan, Dr. Mike Seablum, and Dr. Carolyn Mercer for diving into these topical areas. If that sounds like that'll work.
Yeah, that'd be great. Maybe we can start with Mike on your side. If you can unmute yourself and tell us a little bit more about, all things metamaterials.
I'll do my best. Hi, everybody. So this is an exciting topic. I think it was suggested by the Earth Science Division, but I think it has applicability to perhaps all of our research divisions. And so I'm really happy that it appeared this year. Metamaterials offer unique opportunities for enhancing the performance of our space-based spectrometers and other types of instruments through increased sensitivity, and at the same time offering significant reduction in power and mass. At a fundamental level, metamaterial photodetectors, for example, offer the manipulation of light sources at very specific wavelengths with the ability to measure polarization, angle of incidence, and handedness. So these materials actually enable left-handed materials that can have a negative index of refraction. And that's where we get the unprecedented resolution possible. So in general, we're interested in the broad applicability of this technology to detectors, lasers, thermal emitters, and other types of filters to address our science needs that are articulated in the decadal surveys. So the real issue here is, we had some questions about, very specific questions about the types of metamaterial technology that we may have an interest. The real question is, what can it do for enhancing our science? So, whatever you have to offer that can address the science needs, particularly reduction of power and mass and increased resolution of our instruments, that is really the key to a successful proposal. And I'll turn it back over to you, Asher.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that. Well, I think we still have two more topic areas to run through. We're going to get into questions later on, more specifics, and encourage those in attendance here. We do have a bunch of people listening in. Use the chat or Q&A feature if something comes to mind that you hadn't previously submitted to us and you want to answer it live while we've got everybody on the line. So maybe next we will jump to biomarker detection. If Carolyn, you want to give us kind of a couple minute overview of what you're looking for.
Sure. Can you confirm that you can hear me?
Perfectly well.
Perfect. Okay. So I represent the Planetary Science Division within the Science Mission Directorate, and one of the areas of interest for science is NASA. We want to understand if we are alone in the universe, or whether there might be life on other worlds. And one of the places that we'd like to explore is Jupiter's moon, Europa. It has a liquid water ocean that's encased by a thick ice sheet. And if there was once life there, there might be biomarkers. But if they are there, it's very likely that any samples that we might find would be very highly diluted with water. So we'd like to send some instruments similar to what's used on Earth to study microscopic organisms and life processes. But we really need to concentrate those samples for interrogation by the instruments. So that's where you guys come in. We need sample processing technology to make sure that any concentration methods don't introduce impurities, they don't cause spurious results, and they don't destroy the samples. If I had access to the chat, I would give you a link to a science definition team paper that was written in 2016 that shows representative sample concentrations of the kinds of materials that we would like to detect. So I'll work with Asher and somehow get that to you guys. But, you know, I guess I'll just go ahead and stop there and respond to any questions you might have.
Awesome. Yeah, we will definitely get that link from you. Make sure we post it to the challenge website so that everybody listening in and for those that view later can access that information. Appreciate that overview. Florence, maybe we'll turn it over to you just to give a quick overview of small sat category before we dive into the specific questions.
So hi, everyone. Welcome. And I am Florence Tan, and I am also in the Science Mission Directorate. I'm, besides being Nikki's deputy, I'm also the chair of the Small Spacecraft Coordination Group at NASA. And we at NASA, of course, recognize the potential of small sats, and we have adopted small sats as a part of a balanced portfolio for our innovative science and exploration activities. And we are eager to leverage innovations from the small sat sector to incorporate this new technology to perform unique multi-point measurements from distributed spacecraft systems. So the principal goal is to enable new science measurements that are not attainable using traditional approaches, and we are, interested in rapid, more affordable missions, right, to utilize these latest technologies, of course, leading to greater science returns. So these technologies, as Mike pointed out, we would be very interested in low size, weight, and power, reliable components and subsystems that are able to operate in the harsh environment of space, right? Think from the point of launch all the way to operations in that environment, so vibration, radiation, thermal, right, cold, hot, and its effect on materials as well. So even the materials that we pick have to be low outgassing materials, for example. So our systems that are of interest include things like electric propulsion systems that are reliable, right? Lifetime, high reliability. These are highly versatile, reconfigurable, low swap, again, size, weight, and power, readout technologies, pointing systems, cryocoolers, control systems, sounders, right? Microwave sounders. Details like that can be addressed later, but giving you an idea of what we're looking for, sensors that are also small weight, mass, and power type thing, but high sensitivity, low noise, high dynamic range, fast response, and suitable, again, electronics. So hopefully you have an idea of these types of detectors, imagers, gravimeters, field sensors, etc., LiDAR, radar. So I've given you a whole array of things. I think I turn it back to Asher. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Florence. Yeah, definitely there's some to unpack there. So I think without further ado, let's dive into the questions we've received through the website and via email before this session. Again, just a reminder for those in attendance, if you do have questions, feel free to submit those through the chat or the Q&A. I saw a couple that come through, so we'll make sure to get those answered as well. But starting off with our first one here, and I think this could be answered by anybody, so whoever feels comfortable, just answer it. Do you have specific TRL level requirements for proposed concepts?
Hey, Asher, this is Nikki. I'll jump in on that one. So any
Cool.
TRL level is fixed as long as it meets the evaluation criteria set forth. So we aren't biased one way or the other. It's the idea, the concept, and the alignment to our evaluation criteria.
Okay, makes sense. The next one here that's also on a more logistical note, can an innovation lab within a large corporation participate? Do they have to be a smaller company to participate?
Hey, Asher, it's Nikki again, and this is certainly open for an innovation lab as a part of a larger company. They're eligible as long as they meet the criteria. I sound a little bit like a broken record, but it's totally fine as long as it meets that the eligibility criteria, which it would. Thank you.
Cool. And so that takes care of actually another question we have here, which was, can any university participate in this competition? My assumption there, given your answer there, would be absolutely any team from any university is open to participate. But correct me if I'm wrong there, but I think that's spot on.
Yeah, you got it.
So now jumping a little bit to first round submission of white papers and notification. Do you guys plan to give feedback to those who submit first round white papers, and the question there being to all first round white papers submitted? And when will winners and losers be notified of that first round award?
Hey, Asher, it's Nikki again. And we are unfortunately not going to be in a position to give feedback to everyone that submits, just from the amount of judges that we'll have on our side. We will be able to take requests for feedback, of course, for those that come in, but we're going to treat it very much like a NASA solicitation process, where we will be giving, feedback to those that are selected to go on to further rounds, or maybe specific questions based on their submission. And if there's anybody that has questions outside of that process, please do let us know. We are certainly doing our best and understand the value of feedback and how important it is. But I also want to be realistic with the number of people that we have on our team and the unknowns around how many submissions we might have. We do plan to, and Asher here, correct me if I'm wrong, we have that evaluation period September 7th for the first round submissions, which we'll be, finalizing our inputs and our ranking and scoring. And following that, I would say within short order, within the next day or so, we'll be able to post, the selections on our website. Unless you're thinking it's different, Asher, please let me know.
No, I think that's good. It makes sense. Of course, ultimately, it's a question of bandwidth. If we get 5,000 proposals, it's just not going to have the time. So thanks for answering that one, Nikki. Totally appreciated and on the same wavelength. That's pretty much the bulk of the logistical notes we had here. So we'll take the rest of the time to dive into the focus areas themselves. We'll start first with a question on the small sat category. So maybe Florence, if you could answer this one. I will read off this question. It's a bit of a mouthful, so bear with me and happy to repeat if you need. We're studying a unique method of experimentally measuring the electrical conductivity of the space plasma on orbit through a suite of sensors to provide a valuable data set for spacecraft manufacturers to use for electrostatic discharge and grounding method designs. Will this fit within the category?
So just to repeat the question, a unique method for studying electrical conductivity of space plasma and ESD discharge methods.
That's correct.
So request is certainly for small spacecraft, and if it fits in the small spacecraft, size, weight, and power criteria, certainly it's possible to propose to that quality. But I want to again have you look at the application guidelines and the application criteria, and to make sure that it matches what we're looking for. Right, we are trying to use the technologies towards operating a small spacecraft in space, and we would want to make sure that this hardware or software that we have, this technology is flight ready, or towards flight readiness eventually, and of getting it to be infused into our missions. So to answer your question, if the proposal links how this technology can be incorporated to our small set missions to enable our science, then it matches the criteria. Thank you.
Thank you. Makes a lot of sense, and appreciate the response there. I'm sure whoever's question that was does as well. As a reminder to all as well, we will be recording this session and posting both the actual video and the transcript of this dialogue on the website, so you can reference that later. No need to write everything down. We're going to move a bit quick, so totally okay to reference it later. Mike, I think we'll move next to you on metamaterials here, and we'll jump around a little bit. So Florence, we'll come back to you. But we have someone who asks, under the category of metamaterials-based sensors, has there been previous consideration for laminating thin membrane, air-permeable, oleophobic membranes with printed sensor arrays to reduce the size and weight of spaceborne sensors?
The answer is not to my knowledge, but it doesn't matter. If you can, the important thing here is to connect that to our science measurement needs. If your lens that you're talking about can fit over a sensor and give us some unprecedented improvement in resolution, or like I said, reduction in power and mass, that's the important thing.
Makes sense. All right, well, simple enough. So moving back to small sats here, and I think you touched on this one briefly, Florence. So maybe if you just want to elaborate again, somebody more or less here says that they have a brand new method of generating electrical power on orbit rather than solar panels, and they want to respond to the challenge. We think that it may fit within the small sat category, but don't see a specific mention of power generation in the description. Would this fit within the challenge area, and is it something that they should submit?
Yes, absolutely. Clearly, again, they should make their case in their proposal to match the evaluation criteria, and that the data they have. I mean, if you don't have to carry your own power supply and you're somehow able to generate it, you're saving. That's zero, right? Zero mass and big savings. So whatever improvements they can make to a small spacecraft system, it's certainly a criteria.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, makes sense. And we're going to move next to biomarker detection. So for the biomarker detection topic, we have somebody here that's actually with us in the audience that asks, what state are the samples? Are they liquid, solid, or possibly both?
So probably what we're thinking for this challenge is that they are highly dilute samples in water.
Okay. Okay, makes sense. And maybe one more.
Should say liquid water or ice water, of course, but the ice would presumably be melted.
Makes sense. So another one here on biomarker detection. Is the interest focused solely on extraterrestrial life byproducts detection, or is there also an interest in sensors that might have the capability to monitor space crew health and trace levels in body fluids?
The focus of this is simply for extraterrestrial life detection. If a proposer can make the case that it would be useful for both applications, that would be fine. But you have to be relevant to biomarkers on other planetary bodies.
Okay. All right. So let's see. We've got a bunch more. Maybe Mike, on the metamaterials front, we have someone in the audience here today that asks, could you provide examples of metamaterials that are permissible or that would be of interest?
I can, and I will, but I don't want you to be constrained. Again, the goal here is to give us improved sensitivity with our instruments. So we're not restricting to any particular type of metamaterial. So one example of an investment that we have made has been with a mid-wave infrared hyperspectral sensor. There's a metamaterial hyperspectral filter that goes on top of or right at the CCD. And that has resulted in a much better spectral resolution. And we're able now to measure trace gases much better than we have before. We don't have a lot of other examples of metamaterial investments in earth science. But again, that it certainly is within scope, but there's a lot more than just that. So in metamaterials, it's a wide open field, and Again, the important thing is to demonstrate applicability to NASA problems.
Makes sense. Thank you for that response. We have a question here actually that I can answer. Can a small startup company submit more than one round one white paper? And the answer to that one is yes. Please submit one white paper per focus area that you want to apply to. And Nikki, correct me if I'm wrong on that. So if you wanted to apply to multiple focus areas, just do separate white papers for each one of those responses.
Yep, absolutely. That's what we're looking for. Yep.
Great. So let's see. Let's keep going down the list here. Florence, for small sat category, are communication systems such as RF, optical of interest for the challenge?
Yes.
Simple enough.
Good short.
Loud and clear. Answer is yes.
I want to add. Sorry, I meant to add more. Certainly, radio systems are of course of interest, and radio systems with encryption, multi-band radios, low mass, low cost, very, very interesting, right? Okay, that's it. Thanks.
Okay, good add. So let's see. I'll do. We have another small sat one here. Our goal is to add an infrastructure piece that can enable other more complicated operations to occur in space than what's possible right now. How does this facilitator role play into the goals of the challenge? And I think maybe I'll answer part of that for you, Florence, which I would imagine is if you can make a case that it's applicable to improving science missions, then I think the role there would definitely be applicable.
Absolutely, yes. It seems to me this might be an architecture question or a scheduling question. Certainly, right? This new type of spacecraft is changing, and we are interested in how to utilize some of this for our science purpose. And I mentioned it, I think, early on by saying that we want to make unique multi-point measurements from distributed spacecraft systems. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving now back to biomarkers. Can you list some specific technological hurdles you're hoping to see addressed with innovation in the proposal submissions, as opposed to repackaging of existing solutions, such as biomarker concentration via microfluidic devices? And then separate to that, is there a particular biomarker that's of preference here to see responses for?
Yeah, so let me open up that report. So some of the biomarkers that we're looking at are organic carbon, aspartic acid, aspartate, and then we'd like to detect like native autofluorescence and identify cells and other microstructures, identify and characterize morphological texture and other indicators of life. We'd like to identify life processes, and that includes things like detecting enclosed vesicles that contain a chemical environment that differs from the macro environment, any catalytic action that might be carried out, metabolic uptake of tracer molecules from surroundings, metabolic products generated by living organisms, detect indicators of extant life like metabolism, motility, chemical disequilibrium, biological catalysis, and reproduction. The specific biomarkers that I listed as far as the chemicals and the concentrations of that are in the report that you guys should have now in the link that was posted to chat. And as far as specific problems that we're trying to address, we're looking for innovation. We're looking, for how might we do this better, accurately. It's a real problem to try to highly concentrate samples without killing the sample you're trying to detect and without introducing any kinds of contamination or, unexpected effects. So trying to do that better, accurately, cleanly, we think there's a lot of opportunity for doing that, especially in an environment that would survive on a planet. So we would like it to be low mass, low power consumption, that sort of thing.
Definitely. Well, appreciate that response there. And I think we will move next to, it seems one of our last questions, actually, starting to get towards the end of the pile here. Moving back to small sats with you, Florence, can you talk a little bit more on the higher multiplexing, fast electronics and readouts piece? And what do you consider higher multiplexing, fast electronics, and what kind of readouts are you specifically looking for?
So, you know, again, as Mike says, we're not trying to limit the innovation and the ideas that are coming here. You know, last year when we ran this, I thought, wow, you know, mass spectrometers, I think, you know, I've worked on mass spectrometers, I know what's going on, you know, but I was very, very pleasantly delighted, right, to see the different ideas that flowed through. So similarly this year, you know, what I'm going to say is when I say fast multiplexing, how fast, right? But so signals, it's not just fast multiplexing. It's also you know, how fast can you capture that you know, what's your settling time for your electronics, and how fast can you capture that, right? What's fast, right? Some systems, like for example, mass spectrometer, if I can capture all my signals to settle in a millisecond, that's pretty fast, right? But how low can you go? But not in some other sensors like you know, CCD. So it depends on the sensor that you're trying to catch the information for. But what it is we want versatile, configurable, right? High density, you know, multi-channel, high density. And if you're going to talk about the channels, again, to avoid like going to this hole where I'm trying to specify things, I really prefer that you guys come up with your great ideas. And again, low noise, high dynamic range, in the relevant wavelength range with suitable electronics that are, you know, low preamps, fast readouts, low noise, and high sensitivity detectors. And if you have that detector slash electronic, where, you know, I guess it's integrated photonics in some ways, great, right? But it depends on your detectors. It depends on what imagers, what spectrometers, what type of sensors, you know, the different things that you can read. And we're interested in sensors that will provide us with the data we need to do our you know, numerical modeling of weather systems. All those things are important, but also interested in understanding, say, the component in situ measurement of certain systems, right? So I hope this answers your question. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for the reply there, Florence. So we've got, I would say, our last two here, and maybe Nikki, these are best reserved for you potentially. Someone asked, how is alignment with NASA science measurement needs addressed?
Yeah, that's a great question, and probably one of the most driving questions and why we're here today, right? Is we have these, you know, kind of overarching science goals, limits to our capabilities, and so we're basically that's part of the scoring criteria that we're going to be looking at in the evaluation, is how it addresses, you know, an existing science need or applies to a science need, and it's going to be a driving force. And when it comes down to like how we kind of define those, you know, we at NASA tend to work in, at least in science, work in the world of like decadal surveys and how that informs our science, which are huge, lengthy documents that are, they're tomes on, you know, discipline areas. But you can, you know, see the links on the website, and there's an abstract and a short version of the findings up front that will help kind of point you in the direction on those. But going back to the round one evaluation criteria, like, you know, the significance and unmet science needs, you'll see as one of the first item that we'll be scoring, that the team of judges will be scoring against, and how it either enables or improves NASA science what kind of difference it would make for NASA science. And so that's a really important area for us. And I thank you all for considering that, since that's ultimately one of the big drivers for being here today.
Awesome. Thanks for that one. And then this last one here, I think is also another one for you. And I know the rest of the folks on the line probably have something to say here, but it's around confidentiality and proprietary, maybe IP or technology. Can you discuss a little bit more about, are you expecting to see any sort of proprietary info in the white papers? Do you want that at all? And what is the kind of mitigation plan there? And are you going to publish non-selected submissions, et cetera?
Yeah, that's a great question around just IP in general. And so we, of course, would not claim any IP rights from any submissions. So anything that's patented, software rights, copyright, trade secrets, proprietary information would remain with each respective participant in their submission. We don't plan to publish any proprietary information or submissions. I think, ultimately there's been some short kind of bullets or highlights over what was submitted, and please do not include proprietary information in your white paper, just as a general, kind of approach to challenges. But anything that comes to us, will of course the rights remain with the submitter, and we would not be publishing that or sharing that. We often it's different, but take a similar approach on our research solicitations. There's pre-publication information, proprietary information like crazy. And so we certainly understand how to protect and work with that, but we strongly encourage you to not include proprietary information in your white papers, just given, the commercial aspect of this. Does that answer that question, Asher, or you want some more information?
Yeah, definitely. I think the takeaway there for everyone listening and for those that will watch this later is no proprietary info in the white paper submissions. Please, please, please make everyone's lives easier. So, and I think, again, the point of the first white paper in particular is really just flesh out the idea, talk a little bit more about the concept, and no need for anything too technically in detail there. So with that said, that takes care of all of the questions we had come through during this live session, as well as the ones we received beforehand. We have a few minutes left. If maybe anybody on the NASA side on the line wants to just give some maybe closing words on either words of encouragement or just keys to hone in on what you're looking for technology wise, and then I think we can wrap it up.
Sounds good, Asher. I'll start and I'll invite my colleagues to weigh in too. I just want to thank everyone so much for taking the time to do this in the middle of the week. I'm so sorry. I'm a talking voice on a phone with no face, and hopefully next time we have an event, you'll see my smiling face from afar. But I can't thank you enough. We're really looking for creative ideas, kind of these swing for the fences, blue sky ideas of things we're not thinking of to bring into our thinking and our pipelines, and really appreciate you all taking the time to consider how to improve the science we do at NASA, which is ultimately, to help, benefit, everyone globally, and to advance our science goals. And I really appreciate you taking the time to consider this, and I hope you will continue participating. Florence, Mike, Carolyn, any other comments?
Yeah, Nikki, this is
none for me. Thanks.
This is Carolyn. I'd like to echo what you said there, Nikki, about the creativity and exciting ideas that we're looking for from this community. That's really what I'm interested in. We write these solicitations in a lot of different formats, but I was delighted with some of the ideas that came out last year during the Entrepreneurs Challenge. And we just really encourage you to be as creative as possible. And we look forward to seeing the exciting ideas that you're going to propose.
Well said. Mike, anything from you before we close out?
Yeah, I'll say that we're working with a couple of the companies from last year's challenges. One is writing a proposal to NIAC as we speak. Another had written a proposal into SBIR. So that's really, the goal here is to transition into our regular technology programs, not only just SMD programs, but STMD programs as well. And like Carolyn said, I mean, we really saw ideas last year that we had not seen before. So we hope that happens again this year.
Awesome. Well, I just want to highlight for everyone else listening, and it'll jump in later before we close out. I think a couple main takeaways, as you see on the slide there, that Elizabeth is presenting 10 days, including today, until first round applications close. Please get those in by the top of the evening on August 6th. We'll be on the lookout for those. It'll be a month until you hear yes or no, and then we'll go from there. So everybody who has questions that maybe didn't get to ask them now, feel free to reach out through the website. There's a contact form there. We like to be pretty prompt on replies, so we'll be sure to get those answered. This recording, along with the transcript and maybe a couple of the good questions from here, will be posted to the website in the FAQ section, and also its own dedicated webpage. So we look forward to your submissions. Definitely appreciate you joining us today. And again, we've put the link to the challenge, nasa-science-challenge.com. Reference that. It's got all the information you need and more. But thanks everybody for joining in. And I think, Nikki, if nothing more on your side, then we'll wrap it up.
Well, that sounds great. Thanks so much for your help today, Asher. It's much appreciated. And thank you all again for joining us. And please, like Asher said, reach out if more questions come in, and we'll address them as soon as possible.
Awesome. Well, thanks all.